Hi there, thanks for clicking on and watching. Welcome to this video. Hopefully you've done so because you are thinking of starting Maths A-level in September. Now, Maths at school is a purely academic subject. However, for 1/3 of the course, you will be looking at applied maths, where you'll be studying mechanics and statistics. You'll be looking at modelling and seeing how maths can be applied in real life. Now, maths is one of the STEM subjects, and for GCSE, 42% of the entries are in STEM subjects. Now, from 2010 to 2021, the entries for A-level rose from 34% to 45% of entries being STEM subjects, and maths is the most popular of them, with between 11 and 12% of entries for A-level being people sitting maths. So in this video, we're going to have a look at what sort of grades you need to transition to Maths A-level from GCSE, what sort of topics are involved, what best to do to prepare yourself for the start, and having a look at the overall course. So let's get started. So at your school or college, it might be that maths is one of the more popular A-levels to do. But from this graph, we can see from 1994 to 2020, with that yellow band there at the bottom, about 40% of people 18 have been studying some sort of A-levels. So within that band at the bottom, about up to 12% of pupils will be choosing maths. So your maths classroom might have between 15 and 20 pupils in it if you are starting maths A-level, and your class at GCSE might have had anything up to 30. It's still quite a busy classroom because it is one of the more popular A-levels, but appreciating that about 60% of 18-year-olds are doing other things rather than staying with the academic subjects, it kind of puts it in perspective and shows you how difficult staying on and doing A-levels is. So maths A-level is the sort of subject you do need that prior knowledge. You need to build on what you already know. It's not the sort of subject that you can just cram and learn things in isolation at the end. You do need some basic skills to start with and build on, and there will be some prior knowledge that is assumed that you already have from GCSE. This table here is showing you what the cohort of pupils in 2017, what grades they scored in their maths GCSE, going from 5 to 9, what they then went on to get in 2019 in their A-level. And it's no surprise to get those top grades that we're all interested in. Being good at maths GCSE is going to give you a better percentage and a better chance of getting the top grades at A-level. Maths is the sort of subject that builds on your prior knowledge. You do need to have those higher level skills that overlap from GCSE to A-level. Now, pupils will be allowed to sit GCSE A-level and start the course having gained levels 5 and 6 at GCSE, but you will need to work and catch up on those higher level skills and keep on top of your studies as you work through the 2-year course in order to try and aim for those top grades. So if you are thinking of doing maths A-level, you really need one of these white ClassWhiz calculators. They are essential. You can buy them from between £20 and £30, and they're going to be really useful. They've got the stats mode, which is essential for completing the statistics course. You're going to be able to check your answers for integration on there, which you will meet in the lower 6, and you will also be able to solve simultaneous equations and find factors of quadratics just from keying in the equations into the calculator. Your school or college will have chosen the exam board which they think will best benefit you as the pupil. Now, you might have in your school, for example, biology working towards AQA, whereas maths works towards the Edexcel. And roughly speaking, the content of the syllabus for each of the exam boards is very similar in terms of the maths A level, and the way it is examined at the end of the 2-year course is also similar. So you will have at the end of the upper 6 3 papers, 2 pure papers and 1 applied paper. The pure papers, any topic in the pure syllabus can come up on either paper, and for the applied section you will do a mechanics section and a statistics section. Each of the maths papers will be 2 hours long and each will carry equal weight towards your end result. In the lower six, you will start with some pure maths. Here are the headings of the first 3 chapters. These are actually following the Edexcel syllabus. Now, these are the front covers of some booklets that have been produced that work through the Edexcel content. So these follow the Dr. Frost PowerPoints, which also map through the Edexcel content. But you can see you're going to start with some algebraic expressions, doing some index laws, expanding brackets and surds, move on to some quadratics. You'll be looking at quadratic equations and then linking how that links in with the graphs, and then moving on to some simultaneous equations. Now in the lower six you will also study some mechanics and statistics, and then a lot of the content in the upper six does follow on from things you've covered in the lower six. Before you start, it's worth having a think about which is going to be the best way to work and record your notes and examples. So you might have the booklets at your school if you're following the Edexcel syllabus, but you might want to write notes and examples on file paper, do your practice questions in an exercise book. If you're not very good at filing things away, you might want to have everything in an exercise book. But unless you are inking and having everything on some sort of device, you are going to be using a lot of paper. So having a file to store everything in, because the thing that you need to do the most is practice, practice, practice. Once you've got notes on a particular topic, you need to then get as much practice as you can, so you can really appreciate the ways in which they can ask questions to do with that topic. And the textbooks are very good. You know, if you're following the Edexcel syllabus, there's exercises throughout the chapters, and then at the end of the chapter there are mixed exercises. Now if you are following the Edexcel syllabus, there are full solutions to the exercises from the textbook on the Maths and Physics Tutor site. When it comes to doing some revision, if you've got tests as you work your way through the course or your end of year exams, these PowerPoints which are produced by Westie's Workshop are very good. I call them the Superman PowerPoints. You will see this home screen and you can just click on each of the topics. It will take you through to some questions on that topic, and you can just click the Superman icon and it will take you to the mark scheme. So it's very good for practicing questions per topic. So it's going to be a really good idea over the summer if you just stay sharp with some of the topics that the Maths A level starts with. So usually you'll start with some work on indices, quadratics, surds, and this will overlap from your knowledge from GCSE. So 16 to the half, when you've got a fraction as an index, then this means the root. So 16 to the half is the same as the square root of 16, which is plus or minus 4. Being able to recognize general words, the reciprocal of 16 just means that we've got to invert, and it'll be 1 over 16. So it just means 16 will go on the bottom. 4 to the minus 3. Well, if you know your rules of indices, what could have given us the answer 4 to the minus 3? Say we had 4 squared divided by 4 to the 5. The rule is when you're dividing that you take these powers away. So that would be 4 to the minus 3, because it would be 2 take away 5. But what's going on here is you've got 2 4s times together on the top, and you've got 5 4s on the bottom. So 2 on the top will cancel to 2 on the bottom, and the fact that you've got that minus 3 just means, if you like, it's been bottom heavy. So anything to the minus means that that takeaway sum must have been more in the powers on the bottom to result in the minus. So it's just the same as 1 over 4 cubed. The minus tells us that the 4s were in the bottom, and 1 over 4 cubed is 1 over 64. So this one here, what is 2/5 to the minus 1? Minus just means it will be upside down, so it's just going to be the same as the reciprocal of 2/5, which is just going to be 5 over 2. Now we tend in Maths A level to write things as top heavy fractions. You can say that that's 2.5 or 2.5. Now further down the school it might have been more acceptable to leave answers as mixed numbers and decimals, but A level Maths it is perfectly acceptable to leave it as 5/2. Over here, simplifying this said, 4 root 5 means 4 times root 5, and then all squared is 4 root 5 times 4 root 5. So you can times the numbers. 4 times 4 is 16, and root 5 times by itself is root 5 squared, and the squaring and the root cancel each other out. So that's going to be 16 times 5. Now 16 times 5, you might not know that off the top of your head, but it's the same as 8 times 10, halving one and then doubling the other. So 16 times 5 is 80. Now writing root 75 plus root 48 minus 2 root 12, the idea here, and it gives us a little clue to get everything in terms of that 3. So when you are adding surds, you have to get them in the same surd. So root 75, you try and find a square number. It's going to be 25 times 3 plus 48 is 16 times 3 minus 2, and 12 is 4 times 3. Now I've written my square number first because these roots work that you can do root 25 times root 3 plus root 16 times root 3 minus 2 times root 4 times root 3. And the square numbers, when we root them, this is just going to be 5 root 3 plus 4 root 3 minus 2 times root 4 is 2. Those two as ordinary numbers can go together and say that's going to be 2 times 2, so that's minus 4 root 3. Those terms will cancel out and you'll just have 5 root 3. Now it's asking you in the form of k root 3, and so we can see that k is going to be 5. So the second chapter on the Edexcel course was all about quadratics. So how is your factorising and solving of quadratics? Remember, when you're doing that, you always have to have the equal to 0. So this first one, you'll need to take the 6 to the other side. So that will give you x squared minus x minus 6 equal to 0. So this is a trinomial. It's got 3 terms. They always factorise to 2 brackets. So you'll have x and x. Signs will have to be different to get that minus 6. So we can fill in what we already know. You want 2 numbers that times together to give you minus 6 and add together to give you that minus 1. So you could have 6 and 1, 3 and 2. I think if you have 3 here and 2 there, when you do your outers and inners, that will give you minus 3x, and then this will only give you plus 2x. So they will go together to give you that minus in the middle. So we have factorised. In factorised form, it's 2 brackets times together, and then we just choose an x value which will make that bracket 0. So x will equal minus 2, or x will equal plus 3. Now this second one is a little bit more difficult because you've got this 2 here. So there are longer methods that will get you there, but I like to use trial and error just to see if I can get it straight away. So 2 numbers that times together to give us plus 12 means that the signs must be the same, but then negatives are involved, so we're going to have both minus. To get the 2x squared, we'll have to have a 2x in one bracket and an x in the other. Thinking of numbers that times together to give us 12, we can have 3 and 4, 2 and 6, or 12 and 1. I think if I put a 4 here and a 3 there, and remember the signs need to be the same, both negative, here we're going to get minus 8x, and here you're going to get minus 3x, so they will go together to give us the minus 11. Then we just need to equate each bracket equal to 0. and solve to get the x is 4 for the second bracket. Just unraveling this one, 2x will equal 3 and x will equal 3 over 2 or 1.5. They are both our answers. Now, just to link in and extend the idea of quadratics, you might be familiar with factorising and solving, but do you know that when you do factorise and solve, because you're having equal to 0, you are, when you're plotting the quadratic, y is equal to that quadratic, and where is y equal to 0 when you haven't gone up or you haven't gone down. So when you actually find these answers -2 and 3, that just gives you the roots of the equations and tells you that this quadratic is going to go like that, and it's going to cross between the roots of -2 and -3. Now this vertex or the turning point is going to be halfway between those two roots, so I have done it more in this area because I know it's going to be this side of the y-axis. So just to do the graph of the other one, we've got 4 and 1.5. So 3 over 2, which is 1.5, and my 4, and then I can draw my quadratic. Should be going through those roots there. Now the other thing to notice, this here, when x is 0, you are on the y-axis. So here, this is going to be the number on the end of the 12. And if we just extend this y-axis, this place here is going to be that -6. Being able to sketch graphs and being familiar with the shape of graphs is a good thing to have when you start Maths A level. So here, y is equal to 2 to the x. This is an exponential graph, and all exponential graphs have this sort of shape, and they all go through this common point here. When you're on the y-axis, x is equal to 0 and 2 to the 0 is 1. So all your exponential graphs that have 2 to the x or 3 to the x, they all go through the point there 1, and they all have that shape. Because if you think when x is minus, say -2, we'd have 2 to the -2, and to the minus that just means 1 over 2 squared, so that would be a quarter. So even when x is minus, that graph is not going to go below the x-axis. They're all going to be above the x-axis. This second one, when we have graphs like this, these are called reciprocal graphs, and they all have a particular shape as well, and they come down like this. The graph does not exist along the axes, so these curves tend towards the axes and don't touch. And we've got the x-axis and the y-axis there, and it's asking us to sketch the reciprocal graph and the line y equals x. Well, the line y equals x is made up of coordinates where the x and y coordinates are the same, so 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. So that is your diagonal line that goes through the origin. That is the line y equals x, and it's saying how many solutions will there be where 1 over x equals x. Well, that's just going to be where the two graphs meet and cross, and they cross at two places, so there are going to be two solutions. Now looking at here, this next one, this is going to be a cubic graph because we've got, if we multiplied it out, x times x times x, which is going to give us x cubed. Now it's going to give me positive x cubed, and they go up, wiggle up, this sort of shape. So when we've got it in the factorised form, just like we had before when we were factorising the quadratics and getting them into brackets, if we look at that whole expression equal to 0, when will that happen? When the x in the brackets makes each of the brackets 0. So x will be -2, or x will equal 3, or x will equal -5. And these will tell us where they intercept with the x-axis. These are what's called the roots. So we go -2, 3, and the other one was -5. Now when you're sketching a graph, you don't need to plot it properly. You can just orientate where the points are, and because I know the shape and it's going to go through these places, I can just do up, wiggle down, and then come back up through the roots of the equation, and it's asking me what are the x-intercepts of the graph. Well, there they are, but I can also see what this point is. When I multiply them all out, I can see I'm going to get minus 3 times plus 5, which is minus 15, times 2. That's actually going to be minus 30. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you found the content of that video useful and helpful. Just a few questions tagged on at the end to give you a little taster of what the Maths A level might start with. And hopefully you found that useful and it hasn't been too much in depth for you to not follow on from any work that you've done at GCSE. Please do like and subscribe and keep an eye out for any other videos. I will be posting videos that map through each of the chapters as you work through the A level course. So hopefully see you on the next one.